Hi there, welcome to what's happening in Brazil. As usual, let's take a look at the most recent news from the country.
There is a real tense atmosphere between the Supreme Court and the military. On April 24th, during an online event organized by a German university, Minister Luis Roberto Barroso stated that the armed forces are being instructed to attack the Brazilian electoral process to attempt to discredit. Barroso served as the head of the Supreme Electoral Court from 2020 to February this year. In his speech to the German students, Barroso said that, quote-unquote, "we watched the repeated attempts to play with the armed forces in the retail politics." Since the 2018 elections, President Jair Bolsonaro has been questioning the Brazilian electoral process. He has been affirming, without a proof, that the voting machine is not reliable and that there is fraud. The president also attended a demonstration demanding the closing of the Supreme Court. On the day of voting for the bill to institute the printed vote in Brazil, a parade of military tanks took place in Brasilia. In his speech, Barroso recalled these episodes. The Minister of Defense, General Paulo Sérgio Nogueira de Oliveira, reacted by calling the minister's speech irresponsible and a serious offense. A survey points out that by the end of 2020, more than half of the Brazilian population will be in poverty. The survey forecasts that 50.7% of all the Brazilian households will be in classes D and E by the end of the year. The study considers classes D and E as households with a monthly family income of up to R$2,900, about $580. In 2014, when social indicators reached their best mark, 47% of the Brazilian population was in this income bracket. To researchers, the worsening indicates the job market's deterioration, with a hike in the number of informal jobs. The survey also shows that, despite guaranteeing protection to the most vulnerable people during the pandemic, the emergency aid provided by the federal government in 2020 and 2021 did not contribute to reducing poverty.
Brazil's dictatorship that lasted from 1964 to 1985 was a very repressive period in the country. Recently, audio recordings from that period were made public. They show military personnel talking about torture practice committed against political prisoners. Now, the Senate Human Rights Commission wants to analyze in full these audio recordings.
The cases of torture during Brazil's military dictatorship gained new shapes after the release of audio recordings from the Superior Military Court sessions recorded between 1975 and 1985. Excerpts from the 10,000 hours of recordings were published on April 10th by journalist Miriam Leitão, herself a torture victim. The following testimony was given on June 4th, 1977, in which an army general talks about the torture suffered by a political prisoner.
Se por acaso for considerado responsável, aquilo que diz, deve que seja tomado em consideração o fato, como salientou, não aguentava mais a pressão a qual fora submetida e atendendo com a ação. Deseja ainda esclarecer sua atitude, pois estava grávida de 3 meses ao ser presa. Tinha o receio de perder o filho, o que veio acontecer no dia 7 de abril na dependência da UPA.
A lot was already known about the brutality and cowardness of torture committed against political prisoners, but the release of the audio recordings recalls the facts in a new shape.
It is not news, including the audio recordings. Many lawyers attended these sessions and knew about the testimonies. Now, the big question is the release of them, is that it became public and through audio.
The National Congress has reverberated the impact of the revelations. Senator Humberto Costa, a member of the Senate Human Rights Commission, sent a request to the Superior Military Court asking for the court's audio recordings on torture.
Essa denúncia é particularmente relevante.
This accusation is particularly relevant because it reaffirms and confirms that audio recordings from that period show that the Minister of the Superior Military Court knew about these torture acts. Also, it shows that little was done to prevent them from happening.
The survey on repression began clandestinely still during the dictatorship years. Recently, the National Truth Commission, which lasted from 2011 to 2014, blamed more than 300 people for torture and other human rights violations, but it failed to change the armed forces' understanding of their own responsibilities.
Mesmo com todo o trabalho feito,
Despite all the work developed by the Truth Commission, there are still documents and sources undisclosed to the public, mainly due to the behavior of our military institution, which has public servants. It blocks the access to the memory institutionally defended as a legacy.
The world of fashion is known for being a very elitist space. However, indigenous fashion designers want to change this landscape. In hands of these creators, clothes and adornments become tools for cultural fight and rescue.
Vena singing is resistance. The first indigenous women to create a clothing brand expands the message of change.
The time to take care of our identity, body, dressing, and inner being is now. So when one talks about decolonizing, one talks about indigenous fashion.
In April, the intercultural exhibition of indigenous fashion took place in Manaus, Amazonas state capital city. The fashion shows featured 29 designers and 37 indigenous fashion models from different ethnic groups.
Each ethnic group has its own tradition because they are different. They have distinct habits and cultures. That's about roots because this ancestral knowledge is passed on to other people. There is also a spiritual, metaphysical, and sacred aspect to what they produce. We notice it is very strong among them, and it is not as if they were producing these works just to be sold. They do sell them since it is a source of income to the community, but there's also the involvement of a sacred aspect.
One of the artisans is Elisângela from the Colina ethnic group. She makes her works using only products extracted from nature.
Here we have cuia made from plants, the bamboo used to make our works, açaí seeds, a natural material that we dye in red, yellow and black.
Vena also bets on forest materials. That's the case of tururi fabric.
We don't need non-indigenous fabrics. We have our own fabric, which is tururi. It comes from a natural fiber given to us by nature. We use it to make blankets, sanitary pads, and as our everyday wear. I may not see myself as small. I must show that we native peoples are the protagonists of our own history. I try to be the protagonist of my own story. I can be a mirror for other indigenous individuals.
It's a very nutritious plant that even received the name of the meat of the poor. Barbados gooseberry can be used in many dishes. Take a look at a recipe with this very special ingredient.
For today's recipe, I present to you with another non-conventional food plant, this one here, Barbados gooseberry. It is a super nutritious plant and goes well with almost everything. Barbados gooseberry is a very nutritious plant. It is rich in fibers and iron, so much so that it is often used to supplement iron in vegetarian diets. It is also rich in vitamins A and C and in folic acid. Break the eggs you're gonna use in a separate bowl. Braise the sliced onion with a bit of butter and a pinch of salt. Add garlic and braise it too. This way of preparing the eggs is quite good, and you can vary it with whatever ingredient you have in your house. I'm using Barbados gooseberry because I have it in my backyard, but you can use any other braised greens. Add the Barbados gooseberry leaves and the sliced pepper. Braise them all quickly. Add the eggs and spread them all over the skillet. Add salt, black pepper, and grated cheese if you like it. Cover the skillet and lower the flame so that the heat cooks the yolks but without making them hard, plus melt the cheese. Finish with chives.
Singer and songwriter Zé Guilherme was born in the city of Juazeiro do Norte, Ceará State. With more than 20 years of career, he likes to combine many music genres such as pop, maracatu, samba, and xote. The song we are going to listen to is called Esperar, which means waiting in English.
Madrugada fria e a melodia veio assim, parecendo triste, mas querendo ser alegre. Madrugada fria e o coração à espera, a calmaria do luar, pra quando a gente se encontrar. Nosso amor.
Did you like the show? So hit the like button and share with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to receive notifications. We'll see you next week.
Nosso amor que brotou nesse tempo de esperar.